Hello again. Namo MyoHoRenGeKyo. Thank you so much for being here, friends. Um, this Go Show, this Go Show is a letter that Nichiren wrote to an elderly woman who's a lay nun. We've listened to his letters to her before when she lost a son in battle. Um, I think her husband recently died. At any rate, um, this is an interesting Go show in and of itself because Nichiren speaks directly to the last 7 chapters of the Lotus Sutra. And he explains them in light of the person he's talking to, certainly. But we get an interesting perspective, chapter by chapter, on the meanings and the lessons within these the essential portion of the Lotus Sutra, albeit he doesn't talk about the lifespan chapter here, but he starts with the entrustment chapter, the last 7 chapters. What is it? 21st, 22nd, 23rd, 24th, all the way to the 28th. So, Nichiyo, I think is her name. As I said, she's an elderly woman. She's a lay nun, so she's a follower and a teacher, right? Every follower of Nichiren, as you and I are practicing Bodhisattva practice. So we are teachers. That's why it's important, not essential, but even if you have, everybody has a hard time teaching other people Nichiren's doctrine and the Lotus Sutra, Buddhism, but we have the wonderful gift of this platform, this channel, this internet, and we can simply share certain videos that, if these talks, some of them may be more meaningful to you than others, they may be an opportunity for you to share some insight through simply emailing the video link to somebody, or sharing it on your Instagram or Facebook. That's Bodhisattva activity, right? You may invite questions, but that's great because that's how you sort out the Sangha, right? All right, so he's going to speak, because of who he's speaking to, about the relationship between woman and man, wife and husband, and dedication to practice. And he's going to use these 7 chapters to offer some insight into Shakyamuni's words in these chapters. So we all stand to gain some perspective from this, right? So this is an internal Sangha teaching document straight from Nichiren. So with all of that, let's get started. I've received your offering of 7,000 coins. The essence of the entrustment chapter of the Lotus Sutra is as follows. Rising from his seat in the treasure tower, the Buddha stood in open space, and in order to transfer the Lotus Sutra, patted no fewer than 3 times the heads of Bodhisattva superior practices and his followers, Manjushri and his followers, the great Brahma, Shakra, the deities of the sun and moon, the 4 heavenly kings, the dragon kings, the 10 demon daughters, and others. They had clustered before the Buddha as thickly as dewdrops, crowding 410,000 million nayutas of worlds. Like the grasses of Masashino Plain, or the trees covering Mount Fuji. They knelt close to one another, bent their bodies so that their heads touched the ground, joined their palms together, and streamed sweat. Shakyamuni Buddha patted their heads just as a mother strokes the hair of her only child. Then superior practices, the deities of the sun and moon, and the others received the Buddha's auspicious command and pledged to propagate the Lotus Sutra in the latter age. Now, that's interesting as an expedient means a lovely little story, fable, teaching that attempts to visualize the essential nature of Buddha within all of us. All of us are all of these groups of people. Superior practices, Bodhisattva, is a personage given to this act of submission to Buddha. What is being submissed? When we chant to this mandala of Gohonzon, we are submitting our samsaric life, our body, to awaken our mind to Buddha. This isn't an immolation. We're not getting rid of the body. What we're doing is submissing it to its maximal potential, which is the mind of Buddha, free of the incredible environment of what it is to be a human. And we're saying environment, me, are actually all functions of Buddha. Right? It's not that we would give our lives in our bodies, although that's the rhetoric we read in his translations. It's that we take it down a notch. We take this bodily experience and we take it down from the pedestal, and we reach for something that transcends the pedestal, that understands this entirety of what life is and how it manifests, and not dissected. Gosh, words are so problematic. Not dissected in how exactly the molecules and atoms and so forth work. Just recognizing that whole thing, however you understand it, right? From feeding your face to deepest quantum thinking research, all of that, put it on one platter, and then travel to your mind of understanding and see all of that as equanimous. There are no differences. The differences are an illusion created by our obsessive mind of ownership, of time management. When you unlock your Buddha mind, one thing that will happen that you won't be conscious of, because to be conscious of it, you're no longer there, is that time stops or doesn't exist. It doesn't stop, because stopping is a definition of time. It's that time simply doesn't, it's not part of your perception. In fact, you see time as part of the construct. I don't want to get too Hollywood here or matrixy here, but Buddha mind is free of all those kinds of constrictions. It is truly timeless. So, what he's trying to say here in words, Shakyamuni patted their heads, that is being touched by our Buddha mind. And we all, when we do that, our whole mountain, our triangular pyramid of existence, right, that has all of these assumptive thoughts built on one another to create this perception we have of life as a human on a planet in a universe, that whole pyramid of thinking, suddenly it kind of granulates and fades, and it's still there. It's just that our perception of it, our attachment to it, ebbs away, and we begin to see the underlying reality of all of it without distinctions. Imagine if you could see the pyramids at Luxor, Las Vegas, your loved ones, the planet, the solar system, and everything as just a big two-dimensional soup of manifestations of what? Right? With your Buddha mind, you could see that equanimity. You would cease to be affected or influenced by the differences, the distinctions you make. This, not that, that, not this, not those. Take that and scrap it. Just push it out of the way. Everything still exists, but they're no longer distinct things, because what makes things distinct is your attachment to them. So that attachment's just sort of, and now everything is just there, without auspices, without influence. At that point, the only thing you can feel for everything is amazement, love, compassion. Oh, those things are so obsessed with being those things. If only they knew MyoHoRenGeKyo. Right? But this is about entrustment. This is about the moment in the Lotus Sutra when Shakyamuni talks about when you finally realize that. And that realization is something I'm entrusting to you. This is your goal. This is your thing to achieve in this samsaric existence. And this is what it looks like, feels like. Then he moves on to the medicine chapter. As for the medicine chapter, in the past, a bodhisattva called Gladly Seen learned the Lotus Sutra from the Buddha, Sun, Moon, Pure, Bright Virtue. Okay, another expedient means, right? So deeply moved was he by this favor received from his teacher and by the loftiness of the sutra that he had exhausted all his precious treasures in offerings. Still unsatisfied, he anointed himself with oil and burned his body as an offering to the Buddha for a period of 1,200 years. Okay, nothing burns that long. So please see past the words here. What he's describing is a detachment from our obsession with body. Just as today we burn oil by inserting a wick and lighting it, then in his next lifetime, he made torches of his arms and burned them for 72,000 years as an offering to the Lotus Sutra. This is a well-known and widespread tale, right? We've talked about it before. Skillful means teaching, often misinterpreted as real throughout China and into Vietnam and other countries, used to justify self-immolation. So if a woman makes offerings to the Lotus Sutra now in the last 500-year period, this bodhisattva's benefits will all be bequeathed to her without exception, just as a wealthy man transfers his entire fortune to his only son. So, he's telling this woman that by chanting MyoHoRenGeKyo, whatever lore, folklore, or rewards you see from detaching yourself from this bodily existence and everyone around you, loved ones and all, again, that distance, that unattaching process in this story of the Medicine King is what allows him to become a Buddha. In other words, to awaken his Buddha mind. He doesn't actually burn his arms for thousands of years as offerings. What he does is he detaches from that aspect of his body, what everything his hands can do, his arms can do. They're all wonderful things in samsara, but they don't lead to enlightenment. If you detach yourself from the function of these arms, the function of your body, other than its ability to manifest mind, and just peer from the mind instead of from the body, you will enlighten. You will awaken to the truth nature of all thingness. And if you do the same, Nichiyo, I keep saying that name, and it might be Nichinyo. Come on, Sylvain. Okay, Nichinyo. Okay. So he writes this letter to Nichinyo to inspire her to understand that in the Lotus Sutra, Shakyamuni's own words, he was describing the method of enlightenment, what it looks like to be enlightened, and through these expedient means, like the Medicine King chapter, that if you can just detach from this and surrender, submiss your mind to its clear understanding of the process of life, of which this is just a minor manifestation, provisional as it is, to your realization of Buddha, then you will truly experience the Buddha mind, the Buddha-ness, the truth of all things and creation, right? Now he moves to the next chapter. The Wonderful Sound chapter tells us of a bodhisattva called Wonderful Sound who dwells in the land of Buddha, pure flower constellation king, wisdom, in the east. In the past, in the age of the Buddha Cloud Thunder Sound King, he was Lady Pure Virtue and consort of King Wonderful Adornment. So, these stories, these expedient means, these teachings, they don't even observe a distinction between sexes, as you just witnessed. At that time, Lady Pure Virtue made offerings to the Lotus Sutra and was reborn as Bodhisattva of Wonderful Sound. Lady into Bodhisattva man. When the thus come one Shakyamuni expounded the Lotus Sutra in the Saha world, this world, the mundane world, this Bodhisattva came to attend the ceremony and pledged to protect those women who would embrace the Lotus Sutra in the latter age. So he's pointing to this male-female relationship, isn't he? Without distinction, these pledges are made. Again, another way of removing attachment to the identification of male, female, body, not body, right? Body, Buddha, Buddha, body. The Perceiver of the World Sounds chapter is also called the Universal Gateway chapter. The first part describes the merit of those who would put resolute mind and conviction in Bodhisattva Perceiver of the World Sounds, hence the title Perceiver of the World Sounds chapter. The latter part expounds the merit of those who embrace the Lotus Sutra, the teaching of the Universal Gateway, which the Bodhisattva upholds, hence the title Universal Gateway chapter. So, again, no distinction between male and female. That's another type of attachment to body. See, every one of these chapters nails and introduces this concept of Buddha mind is free of this package that we find ourselves in. And the package only exists or coexists with its environment. They are one in the same. You can't have a package without the environment around the package. Otherwise, the package isn't distinguished from the environment. Just like a glass of water is a glass of water because there's a container holding water, and the glass is there simply because it contains. The Dharani chapter describes how the two sages, the two heavenly deities, and the 10 demon daughters will protect the votary of the Lotus Sutra. Those two sages are a medicine king and brave donor, and the two heavenly deities are Vishravana and upholder of the nation. The 10 demon daughters are the 10 major female demons, the mothers of all demons of the 4 continents. Moreover, these 10 demon daughters have a mother, who is called the mother of demon children. It is the nature of demons to feed on human beings. Human beings are formed of the 36 elements: excrement, urine, saliva, flesh, blood, skin, bone, the 5 solid internal organs, kidneys, liver, the important ones, so on. The 6 empty internal organs, the hair of the head, the hair of the body, energy, life, and so forth. Demons of, an interesting reference to energy, right? Demons of inferior capacity feed upon the excrement and the like. Demons of intermediate capacity eat bones and similar parts, while demons of superior capacity live on human vitality. As demons of superior capacity, the 10 demon daughters subsist on human vitality. They are the powerful demons who bring about epidemics. There are 2 kinds of demons, good and evil influences. Good demons feed upon enemies of the Lotus Sutra, while evil demons feed upon the Sutra's votaries. How should we interpret the great epidemics that have spread throughout Japan both this year and the last? We're dealing with one right now, folks, a pandemic, right? From one viewpoint, they are the work of good demons who are devouring enemies of the Lotus Sutra, with the approval of Brahma, Shakra, and the deities of the sun and moon, and the 4 heavenly kings. Yet, from another view, they are the work of evil demons who are feeding upon the practitioners of the Lotus Sutra at the urging of the devil king of the 6th heaven. Right? Good demons devouring enemies of the Lotus Sutra are like government soldiers punishing enemies of the ruler, but evil demons eating votaries of the Lotus Sutra are like robbers and night thieves murdering government soldiers. For example, when Buddhism was brought to Japan, the chief minister Mononobe no Moriya and others who opposed it were struck down by epidemics, but the great minister Soga no Umako and others who espoused Buddhism also fell ill. 3 successive emperors, Kimei, Bidatsu, and Yomei, believed in Buddhism, and the thus come one, Shakyamuni, in their hearts, but outwardly honored the sun goddess and the Kumano shrines, abiding by the traditional rites of the nation. Because their resolute mind and conviction in the Buddha and his teachings was weak, while their resolute mind and conviction in the deities was strong, these 3 rulers were pulled by the stronger influence and succumbed to the smallpox epidemics. In light of these examples, you should ponder the 2 kinds of demons mentioned above, as well as the reasons why epidemics spread among the people of the world today, and why some among my followers also fall ill and perish. It follows, on the one hand, that those who commit their lives for the sake of resolute mind and conviction will not fall ill, or that even if they should fall ill, they will recover. On the other hand, if they encounter great evil demons, they may be deprived of their lives. They might then be likened to Hatakayama Shigatada, who was finally destroyed by the sheer number of his enemies, though he was the most powerful general in Japan. All the true word teachers in Japan have turned into evil spirits, and evil demons are rampant throughout the country, inciting the Zen and Nembutsu monks to oppose Nichiren. On the other hand, the followers of Brahma, Shakra, and the deities of the sun and moon, and the 10 demon daughters have also swarmed into Japan, each side battling fiercely to dominate over the other. As the 10 demon daughters pledge to protect the votaries of the Lotus Sutra, in general, one may think they should protect all those who embrace the sutra, but even among those who embrace the Lotus Sutra, some are true word teachers who read and recite it while asserting the superiority of the Mahavajrayana Sutra. Such people are actually slandering the Lotus Sutra, and the same principle applies as well to any other school whose followers practice the Lotus Sutra while believing in the superiority of their own sutra. Even among those who embrace the Lotus Sutra according to its words, there are some who resent the votary of the Lotus Sutra, either because of their greed, anger, and foolishness, which is our age, because of worldly matters or because of his various actions. Although such people believe in the Lotus Sutra, they will not obtain the benefit or the reward of resolve, but will instead incur retribution. To explain, if a son disobeys his father and mother, he will be acting in an unfilial manner, except in the case where his parents are plotting a rebellion. Though a father may take his own son's beloved wife, or a mother may steal her own daughter's beloved husband, if the son or daughter should deviate even in the slightest from the path of filial piety, they will create causes that will lead them to be abandoned by the heavenly deities in this life and to fall into the hell, Vichy hell, in the next. Graver still is the act of going against a worthy ruler who is superior to a father or mother. Even, and the key word there is worthy ruler. And even graver is that of going against a secular teacher who is 100,000, 10,000 million times superior to one's parents or sovereign. How grave a matter must it be, then, to go against a Buddhist teacher who has forsaken the secular world, and even more so, the teacher of the Lotus Sutra. So he's going on quite at length about this chapter, because it really applies to Nichinyo's circumstance as a mother of samurai, and the death that she's seen, and the witnessing that she has of epidemics and all sorts of things that are scaring her going on in her country, right? It is said that the Yellow River, and now understand, and he's already, I should have pointed that out, but he's already pointed out, Nichiren has, that these are all exemplars of people's behavior, mental states, if you will, right? And he's hammering home that the commitment, the steadfast resolve in MyoHoRenGeKyo is essential. You can say you read the Lotus Sutra and that you follow Lotus Sutra Buddhism, but if you offer, offerings to other modes of religious beliefs or other teachings of even of Buddhism, if you make those somehow in your mind provide you with something extra or something separate from the Lotus Sutra, you actually aren't following the Lotus Sutra. You're just mouthing it. Your commitment above anything else should be to your Buddhahood, awakened through MyoHoRenGeKyo. If you do anything else, it should just be a diversion, an exercise, something that you're not invested in actualizing your maximal potential. Certainly not your Buddha nature. That is only through MyoHoRenGeKyo, through the teachings of the Lotus Sutra, which include the teachings of all of Buddhism, Shakyamuni's golden words, if you will. It is said that the Yellow River becomes clear once in 1,000 years, and that a sage likewise appears in the world once 1,000 years. A Buddha appears in the world once in countless kalpas. Yet, even if one should meet a Buddha, it is far more difficult to encounter the Lotus Sutra. And by that, what is meant by that is that to meet a fully realized, moment-to-moment realization of Buddha, it's nearly impossible, because that's a disembodied person. That's somebody who's completely unattached to body, which means this life, this human existence, this samsara. Whereas the teaching of your ability, anyone's ability, to invoke and experience that Buddha is far greater a thing to encounter, because it enables your Buddha. You're not waiting to be shown, you show yourself. This is the tool, Lotus Sutra, MyoHoRenGeKyo. You see? And even if one should encounter the Lotus Sutra, it is rarer still for an ordinary person of the latter age to meet the votary of the Lotus Sutra. In other words, somebody to guide you in your practice of the Lotus Sutra. Very difficult. Look at all the difficulties you and I go through trying to establish a community of like-minded Buddhists. There's a lot of people calling themselves Buddhists who are not practicing Buddhism. They're practicing some other form of idolatry, some other form of attachment to body, right? They found some leader, some rhetoric that makes them authoritarianly feel some value, not for themselves, not for their own Buddhahood. Do you see the difference? The reason is that the votary who expounds the Lotus Sutra in the latter age surpasses the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas appearing in the Sutras of the Flower Garland, Agama, Correct and Equal, and Wisdom periods, and the 1200 and more honored ones of the Mahavajracana and other sutras who did not expound the Lotus Sutra. So right there, he's again reinforcing that all of these previous personages are expedient means. They're storytelling, they're mental investigations, mental exercises to help bring about insights in you and I in order to instantiate our own Buddha mind. The great teacher Miao states in his commentary, quote, "Those who give alms to the practitioners of the Lotus Sutra will enjoy good fortune surpassing the 10 honorable titles, while those who vex or trouble them will have their heads split into 7 pieces." So we need to support one another, right? Because the benefits we derive from that brings us closer and closer to our Buddhahood. While if you impede the practice of others, to awaken Buddha, then you're causing your own suffering, basically. The epidemics that the Japanese nation has suffered since last year, as well as those of the past Shoka era, are totally without precedent in the reigns of the more than 90 emperors who have ruled since the beginning of imperial era. These calamities appear to stem from the fact that the people hate the presence of a sage in this country. This is exactly what is meant when it is said that a dog that barks at a lion will have its bowels ripped open, and that an Ashura who tries to swallow the sun and moon will have his head broken. 2/3 of all the people in Japan have already fallen ill in the epidemics, and half of these have perished. The remaining third may not be afflicted in body, but they are afflicted in mind. Visibly or invisibly, their heads have surely been broken. So, I don't know how you read that, but it's very obvious to me that, again, Nietzsche is reinforcing that to split the head in 7 pieces isn't to actually take a sword and cut the head in 7 pieces. He's talking about people whose minds have been broken. Right? That's an actual living condition. Expedient means. There are 4 kinds of punishment: general and individual, inconspicuous and conspicuous. If the people nurture hatred for a sage, general punishment will sweep across the entire country, extended to the 4 continents, the 6 heavens of the world of desire, and the 4 meditation heavens. When enmity is directed toward a worthy, only those who harbor it will suffer punishment. Where are we time-wise? Okay. The epidemics now spreading in Japan are general punishment. Surely the people must have opposed a sage living in this country. Because a mountain contains a jewel, its plants and trees do not wither. But because a country has a sage, that country is protected from ruin. Ignorant people do not realize that plants and trees on a mountain do not wither because of the presence of a jewel, nor do they realize that a country falls because of enmity toward a sage. Though the sun and moon shine, their light will not benefit the blind. Of what use is the sound of voices to the deaf? The people in Japan are all as though blind or deaf. How immense would it be the benefit if would be the benefit if one could open all these eyes and ears, causing all the eyes to see and the ears to hear. Who could possibly fathom this benefit? And I may add that although parents may give birth to a child who is endowed with both sight and hearing, if there is no teacher to instruct that child, then its eyes and ears will be no better than those of an animal. So that's a very interesting analogy, and I think I'm going to pause there. This is all about the mind, isn't it? It's not about the eyes and ears. It's about the capacity of the eyes and ears to see and to hear the teachings correctly, unaffected, uninfluenced by those who would misuse it, misuse the teachings of Buddhism, or the teachings of other schools. Oh, excuse me. Need to breathe. Congested, sorry. I'm fascinated because everything we read in the Gosho and in the sutras is all about how the mind functions. That alone, once you get past the linguistic biases, is kind of it's mind blowing. It's kind of a depth of understanding of a way of teaching, like Don Quixote. You know, reading any good novel, you get imagery to represent willfulness, negative influences, heroic influences, distraction influences. I mean, this is the history of literature throughout time. When we tell stories to one another, a fundament of language, we try to create mental scapes, mental pictures to illustrate an experience. And all of the teachings of Buddhism are this energy of creating illustrations, no matter how fantastical, in order to illustrate a point of view, an understanding of an experience. And if you work counter to that, you inculcate your own suffering. When you work in concert with it, you gain reward. You gain the reward of a more fulfilled life. You edge closer and closer to your awareness, your Buddha awareness. You know, need I talk about jealousy and manipulation? We live in that age. This, in Buddhism, that's what anger is. Anger is that manipulative, backstabbing, one-upsmanship, jealousy. What's jealousy but a desire not only to have and to hold and to obsess about, but to take it from someone else? How much more evil is that, if you quotes unquotes, right? Evil is just, it's a negative, against your own enlightenment energy. And good in Buddhism is simply anything that substantiates and moves you more and more toward your realization of Buddha. All right, we will continue with this letter to Nichiño, now that I'm saying it right, by Nichiren in the next video. For now, take care of your health. Watch our epidemics and pandemics at work. Please stay healthy. Do what you can to avoid this terrible thing. And just MyoHoRenGeKyo. Chant, practice, read. Help one another. I love this Sangha. You guys are awesome. And I appreciate every one of you. MyoHoRenGeKyo. See you in the next one.